Very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. And in the next half an hour, I'll be getting you the biggest news stories that have unfolded in the last 24 hours. Let us start with the headlines. India warns Pakistan of unequivocal response to beheading of 2 soldiers. Army to revise the standard operating procedures along the line of control. President Pranab Mukherjee says that terrorism a major threat to societies, calls on international community for collective action to combat it. Government defends a decision to link PAN cards with Aadhaar. Tells Supreme Court it has saved 50,000 crore rupees on schemes to benefit poor because of Aadhaar. Islamic State militants strike a displaced people's camp in Syria's northeast border with Iraq. Over 40 civilians and Kurdish-led fighters killed. And India to take on Japan in the Sultan Azlan Shah hockey tournament in Malaysia. Suffer a first loss in tournament after a 1-3 loss to Australia. Our top story this morning, India has warned Pakistan of unequivocal response to the beheading of 2 soldiers at the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. Well, India's Director General of Military Operations, Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt, spoke to his Pakistani counterpart to express his grave concern. Pakistan has, however, rejected the charge and has sought actionable evidence. Well, the Indian Army in a statement said that the DGMO of the Indian Army conveyed that such a dastardly and inhuman act is beyond any norms of civility and merits unequivocal condemnation and response. The DGMO also conveyed that full fire support was provided by the Pakistani Army post located close to where the incident took place in the Krishna Ghati sector of Poonch district. The DGMA also conveyed a concern about the presence of border action team training camps in close vicinity of the LOC in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And after the surprise attack by Pakistani troops, the Indian Army and the BSF will be revising their standard operating procedures or the SOPs on the line of control. The Indian security establishment also sees a link between the attack in which 2 soldiers were beheaded and the visit by Pakistan Army Chief General Qamar Bajwa to the LOC a day before.
The Border Security Force on Tuesday said that the Pakistani Army provided cover with firing to their border action team personnel to enable them to attack and kill Indians in the Krishna Ghati sector of Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district. In another development, the Indian Director General of Military Operations called his Pakistani counterpart on the hotline and told that the act of beheading was dastardly and inhuman. The DGMO also raised the issue of fire support provided by the Pakistani posts. However, Pakistan's army has denied any involvement in the attack or mutilation of the Indian soldiers.
उनके 2 FDL ऑपोजिट साइड से पाकिस्तान की तरफ से और 2 एम्बुश जो उन्होंने लगा रखे थे, चारों ने साइमल्टेनियस फायर शुरू किया और जो बाकी हमारे जवान थे वो उसमें इंगेज थे और इसी फायरिंग के बीच में जो बैट एक्शन होता है, बैट एक्शन का मतलब है कि जो टिपिकली इट कंसिस्ट ऑफ द रेगुलर आर्मी एंड मुजाहिदीन्स और दे ट्रेन मिलिटेंट्स, तो उन दोनों ने इस फायर पावर का जो उनकी तरफ से आ रहे थे 2 FDL और 2 एम्बुश के, उसका फ़ायदा उठाते हुए उन्होंने 2 जवानों को म्यूटिलेट किया, उनकी बॉडी को.
Meanwhile, the army and the BSF bid farewell to both martyred soldiers. Naib Subedar Paramjeet Singh and Head Constable Prem Singh in a wreath-laying ceremony organized in Poonch. The mortal remains of both soldiers were flown to their native villages.
That we are here to mourn and to pay tribute to the martyr, and we are with the family, the whole force, BSF, Indian Army, the whole country is united at this moment.
जिस तरह की नापाक हरकत पाकिस्तान ने की है, वो युद्ध में भी नहीं की जाती है. हम इसकी पूरी भर्त्सना करते हैं. देश के शहीदों की शहादत व्यर्थ नहीं जाने दी जाएगी।
It has affected the morale of the Indian people, morale of the Indian army, and it has had also continuous attack in the military installations. It put a question mark about the security structure in the border.
The mutilation of our soldiers at the border is something which is reprehensible and we strongly condemn. The issue here is, how does the government of India intend to deal with this very real problem which is continuing?
On Monday, under the cover of heavy rocket and mortar fire, Pakistan's border action team had sneaked across the line of control into the Poonch sector in Jammu and Kashmir and beheaded 2 Indian soldiers. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
And militants on Tuesday night snatched 5 rifles from police guards posted at the Shopian district court complex in Kashmir. The militants attacked the guard room of the court complex and decamped with 4 INSIS and 1 AK-47 rifle. Although no one was injured in the incident, all the 5 policemen were suspended for their alleged neglect of duty as they showed no resistance when the militants looted their weapons. An alarm was sounded following the incident and a hunt has been launched in the area. Now, this incident comes a day after militants gunned down 7 people who were accompanying a district treasury van in adjoining Kulgam district. Well, after the beheading of 2 soldiers on the LOC by the Pakistani army, now tension has escalated in the Kashmir Valley. The Election Commission cancelled the by-election to the Anantnag parliamentary constituency indefinitely, while several meetings also took place in the national capital to discuss the prevailing law and order situation in Kashmir. Here is a roundup of all the developments on Tuesday.
The Election Commission cancelled the Anantnag Lok Sabha by-poll scheduled for the 25th of May, citing poor law and order situation and lack of adequate security forces. This after the state government informed the Election Commission that the situation in South Kashmir and rest of the valley is not conducive to hold the election. In a 10-page order issued on Monday night, the Election Commission stated that the by-election to fill the vacancy will be held by the Commission in due course when the law and order situation becomes conducive to the holding of free, fair and peaceful election. The Anantnag Lok Sabha seat fell vacant after Mehbooba Mufti took over as the Chief Minister in July last year, following the death of her father, Mufti Muhammad Saeed.
तसद्दुक मुफ्ती साहब उन्होंने एक अच्छा फैसला लिया, वो एक पिटीशन किया उन्होंने इलेक्शन कमीशन से, और उसके बाद इलेक्शन कमीशन एसेस करता रहा होम मिनिस्ट्री और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट से सिक्योरिटी सिचुएशन भी और इसके सियासी मुज़म्मिरात पर भी बड़ी लंबी बहस हुई आज तक, और आज ये फैसला हुआ कि हालात मौजूद नहीं है इंतखाबात के लिए, लोगों के हक में है ये फैसला.
The by-poll, earlier scheduled for April, was deferred after 8 people were killed in poll-related violence. The Srinagar parliamentary seat, which was won by National Conference Chief Farooq Abdullah, witnessed a record low voter turnout of over 7%. Reacting to the EC's decision, former Chief Minister of the state, Omar Abdullah, tweeted, "It's depressing to see how far we have regressed in Kashmir from the highs of the assembly polls of 2014 to the cancelled election of 2017. Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir Governor N.N. Vora met Home Minister Rajnath Singh in the capital and reviewed the ground situation of the valley. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley too met with the Prime Minister to discuss the government's latest strategy after the beheadings of the 2 Indian soldiers by Pakistani army on Monday. The situation in Kashmir has remained volatile since July last year after the killing of Hizbul terrorist Burhan Wani in a police encounter. More than 90 people have lost their lives in protests since then. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And President Pranab Mukherjee has said that terrorism is a major threat to societies and collective action by the international community against it can no longer be postponed. He said that there can be no justification for terrorism and its use an instrument of a state policy is perilous and reprehensible. The President said this while welcoming Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He said, and I quote him, "We believe that the international community should cooperate closely to address this menace. Collective coordinated action by the international community against terrorism can no longer be postponed. India believes that there can be no justification whatsoever for terrorism its use as an instrument of state policy is perilous and reprehensible. We believe that closer coordination and concerted efforts by the international community are necessary to tackle this menace effectively." Unquote. The Indian Army successfully test-fired an advanced version of the BrahMos land attack cruise missile in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands on Tuesday. The land-to-land configuration of a BrahMos missile was launched from a mobile autonomous launcher. The test firing of the Block 3 version of the missile demonstrated the weapon's unmatched lethality of hitting the center of a designated target with bull's-eye precision. PTI is quoting the Army sources as saying that the supersonic cruise missile successfully hit the land-based target with the desired precision in a top attack configuration, meeting all the flight parameters in a copybook manner. On to some other news now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to visit Uttarakhand today. The Prime Minister will begin his visit by offering prayers at the Kedarnath temple, whose portals will be thrown open to pilgrims after a 6-month-long winter break. During the visit, he will also inaugurate the Patanjali Research Institute in Haridwar before returning to Delhi the same day. Meanwhile, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat flew to Kedarnath on Tuesday to review the preparations ahead of the Prime Minister's visit. He visited the medical centre set up at Kedarnath to provide prompt medical facilities as well as accommodation arrangements made for the pilgrims. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has raised concerns about the possible impact of changes in Australian visa regulations for skilled professionals during a telephonic conversation with his counterpart Malcolm Turnbull on Tuesday. The two leaders decided that officials from both the sides will remain in close touch on the issue. India is closely examining the consequences of Australia's decision to abolish a popular work visa issued which was used by over 95,000 foreign workers. Majority of these workers are from India. The visa program, which is known as the 457 visa, allows businesses in Australia to employ foreign workers for a period up to 4 years, where there is a shortage of Australian workers of that skill set. In Breakfast News, time for a very short break. We'll be right back with more news. Stay tuned.
Taking its name from the abundance of simul or red silk cotton trees that bloom vividly here, the Simlipal National Park is home to 3 of India's biggest animal species: tiger, Asiatic elephant, and gaur. Spread over a sprawling area of 2,750 square kilometers, set on a wide expanse of sal forest, this park is nestled in the very center of Mayurbhanj in Odisha. It is one of the most breathtaking nature reserves in India, with forests, grassy meadows, and some beautiful waterfalls like Joranda and Bade. It is also home to an astounding 1,078 species of plants, including 94 species of orchids.
It was an EVM leher, not Modi leher.
I think insult to the people of the country.
Why does the secular lobby say that the nationalism which is projected by BJP is a pseudo-nationalism?
We, after so many years, don't need any certificate from any lobby.
BJP is becoming bigger than RSS, or RSS is overshadowing BJP.
I don't think so that BJP can ever become bigger than RSS.
Watch To The Point with Union Minister Dr. Harshvardhan only on Rajya Sabha television.
Ghata, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'll be surprised, but the air inside the ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature: earth, water, air, fire and space make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back after the break. Some good news for the economy. Now, a UN report claims that India is expected to clock 7.1% growth in the year 2017 before edging up to 7.5% in 2018. Now, a report titled The Economic and Social Survey of India and the Pacific 2017 also projects inflation between 5.3% to 5.5% in 2017 and 2018 respectively, which is above the official target of 4.5 to 5%. Now, noting the impact of demonetization, the report also said that the demonetization exercise in November last year weighed down the country's economic conditions in late 2016 and early 2017. However, the report mentions that a key risk in the growth trajectory was the heightened financial sector risks related to the concentration of bad loans in the public sector banks. The government has defended its decision to link PAN cards with Aadhaar in the Supreme Court. The government said it was done to curb the use of fake PAN cards across the country. Attorney General Mukul Rohtgi added that an identification system was necessary for an orderly society and to keep pace with technology. The Attorney General maintained that due to Aadhaar, government has saved over 50,000 crore rupees on schemes that benefit the poor. He also said that Aadhaar was an effective tool to check the menace of terror funding and circulation of black money. The apex court was hearing petitions challenging the government's decision to make the 12-digit ID Aadhaar mandatory. On to some other news now. Well, the team of officials from the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate have reached London for discussions on the extradition of former liquor baron Vijay Mallya. A 4-member team will apprise the British authorities of the default case against Mallya. Mallya's extradition is now before the British court, where neither the CBI nor the Enforcement Directorate are direct parties. The agency's move to send a team to London is aimed at presenting a strong case for the extradition of Mallya before the court. Remember, he was arrested by British authorities last month on India's extradition request in connection with the 900 crore rupees loan default case, which is being probed by the CBI. He was released on bail within hours by a London court, which has fixed now 17th of May as the next date of hearing. The extradition process from the UK involves a number of steps, including a decision by the judge on whether or not to issue a warrant of arrest. In case of a warrant, the person is arrested and brought before the court for preliminary hearing, followed by an extradition hearing before a final decision is taken by the Secretary of State. And back home in the national capital, the crisis in the Aam Aadmi Party seems to deepen after senior leader Kumar Vishwas indicated that he could quit the party. Now, he has alleged conspiracies were being hashed against him. Vishwas also said that he will be highlighting the mistakes of the Aam Aadmi Party and say that what is right in the interest of the country. The AAP leader was particularly upset with Okhla MLA Amanatullah Khan, who on Sunday alleged that Kumar Vishwas was plotting a coup against party chief and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, and that he was an RSS BJP agent. Now, Vishwas also remained adamant on Khan being sacked from the party, who had earlier resigned from the party's Political Affairs Committee yesterday. Earlier, Vishwas also refused to attribute the AAP's recent poll losses to alleged manipulation of EVMs and had instead stressed on the need to introspect. Meanwhile, the party cadres are trying to pacify Vishwas.
विधायक कह रहे थे जी बिल्कुल निकलना चाहिए, कार्यकर्ता कह रहे थे, पर कल जब उसने दोबारा बोला तब मुझे लगा कि ये रामविलास पासवान जी की पार्टी में से आया हुआ पहली बार का विधायक नहीं बोल रहा, ये सिर्फ मुखौटा है, इसके पीछे से कोई और बोल रहा है।
उनसे किसी ने किसी भी बात पे माफी मांगने के लिए नहीं कहा है। अब कुमार इसको पर्सनल लड़ाई बना रहे हैं।
Let's get to some international news. News from Venezuela, where there has been a widespread anger over President Nicolas Maduro's plans to rewrite the constitution. On Tuesday, protesters in the capital Caracas once again barricaded streets and clashed with the riot police. Opponents of Maduro set up roadblocks and staged demonstrations demanding elections. Close to 100 people blocked a major road in the capital Caracas, with security forces deploying tear gas and water cannons at the demonstrators. Now, the development comes after President Maduro on Monday night announced to form a constituent assembly that will revise the nation's democratic system. The opposition says that the step would bypass the opposition-controlled Congress. The US said that it was a bid to cling to power. Venezuela's former regional allies, Brazil and Argentina, too have denounced the move. Opposition leaders have called for a mega protest on Wednesday as well.
Puesto que si estuviese convocando una constituyente, la agarraríamos de la mano, porque permitiría resolver problemas estructurales de nuestro país. Pero esto no es una constituyente.
And news from the Middle East. In the recent spate of violence by the Islamic State, more than 40 civilians and Kurdish-led fighters have been killed in an attack by Islamic State militants near Syria's northeastern border with Iraq. They targeted a makeshift camp by displaced Syrians and Iraqi refugees at Rajam al-Salibi in Hakaseh province. According to Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, at least 5 IS suicide bombers blew themselves up outside and inside the camp. The militants also clashed with the members of the Syrian Democratic Forces, which were stationed at a nearby checkpoint. The IS jihadist group is coming under mounting pressure in northern Syria from the SDF's Kurdish and Arab fighters, who are supported by the US and from the pro-government forces in neighboring Iraq. The SDF has driven IS militants out of much of Hasakeh and is close to taking control of the strategically important Euphrates River Valley. Let's get to some more international news in World Wrap. US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have agreed to press for a ceasefire to halt the war in Syria. The two spoke by phone for the first time since the US launched airstrikes against Syria nearly a month ago. White House and Kremlin statements suggested a productive conversation. Other topics discussed included North Korea and the timing of a future face-to-face meeting. The Trump administration on Tuesday pledged to work against the recent surge in hate crimes, including those against the Hindu and Sikh communities. The US Department of Justice said that it has already established a task force subcommittee to look into the issue and submit its recommendations. In February, Sessions had established a task force on crime reduction and public safety. The task force has a hate crimes subcommittee. And Bangladesh police have arrested a key terrorist of a group blamed for killing of several secular bloggers and gay rights activists. The suspected terrorist, identified as Ashfaqur Rahman, worked as the head of the Al-Qaeda-inspired militant group Ansarullah Bangladesh team. The authorities say that the group carried out a series of attacks since February 2015 in which at least 5 bloggers, a publisher and 2 gay rights activists were hacked to death. On to sports now, and India will take on Japan in the 4th round robin match at the Sultan Azlan Shah tournament, which is being played in Ipoh, Malaysia today. On Tuesday, India put up a spirited show before squandering the early lead to go down 1-3 against defending champions Australia in their 3rd league match. After managing to hold the world champions in the first quarter, India took the lead in the 25th minute through a field goal from Harmanpreet Singh. But Australia pumped in 3 field goals to maintain their position atop the round-robin league standings. After drawing against Great Britain in the opener and beating New Zealand 3-0 next, this was India's first loss. 9-time winners of the Sultan Azlan Shah Cup, Australia now have 7 points from 3 outings, while last year's runners-up, India, are on 4 points after 3 matches. And 4th seed Shiva Thapa advanced to the Asian Boxing Championship quarterfinals with a hard-fought victory on Tuesday. Shiva, a world champions bronze medalist and a 2-time medalist at the Asian meet, edged past his opponent in a split verdict to make the last 8 stage. Shiva will now face the Chinese Taipei's Chu Enlai in the quarterfinals. Also advancing to the quarters was Sumit Sangwan, a former gold medalist at the Asian Olympic qualifiers. He defeated his Mongolian opponent in his last 16 bout late Tuesday night. Now up ahead for Sumit is third-seeded Chinese Feng Kai Yu. Vikas Krishnan, Gaurav Biduri and Amit Pangla are also the other Indian boxers to have entered the quarters so far. The tournament is a qualifier for the August-September World Championships in Hamburg, Germany. That's all in this edition of news. Thanks for watching.